Well, we said we were going to cover this, and here it is. Apparently, the penny has literally finally dropped for a Brexit Party MEP just days before they are set to leave the EU. Um, and words fail me to describe how ludicrous this is, because we've said it before. I've used this analogy hundreds of times. You can't be a member of a club and be on its council and complain about it and do nothing but complain about it, not provide any solutions, but then leave the club and then expect to still have a say when you are not in the club anymore. You know, it should be very easy to work out that if you want to say, then you have to be in the club and you have to actually provide solutions, because that's what the Brexiteers have always done. They've just stood up in the European Parliament, made big, grandiose speeches, wasting parliamentary time, essentially, not provided any real solutions to the part of their problems that they so have. So they basically pushed for, well, we're going to leave. And now they've said, well, okay then. You know, that's literally what's happened. And now, as in this case, with this Brexit Party MEP, what was her name? June Mummery. I just can't believe it. It's unbelievable. So it starts off with the tweet from her, basically attending the penultimate session of the European Parliament's Fisheries Committee. The big question now is who will be here to hold these people to account when they still control Britain's waters, but the UK has no representation. Words just fail me. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. It's... Anyway, we'll continue. So, June Mummery from Nigel Farage's group of politicians tweeted to announce that she had attended the penultimate session of the European Parliament's Fisheries Committee to include British MEPs. Posting a photograph on Twitter, she highlighted a concern many of us Remainers have been trying to emphasise for a number of years. The big question, she said, is now who will be here to hold these people to account, while they still control Britain's waters, but the UK has no representation, she asked her followers. Mummery did not provide any answers to the questions she posed, but she received more than 7,000 responses from those aghast by what she had just asked. Simply replied Seb Dance, a Labour MEP. You should really have thought about that before, said James Brown. Brexit Party MEP complains about Brexit stripping UK of influence in the EU, wrote another. This is literally what you voted for, complained Emma Kennedy. If only somebody hadn't lied and said there would be no accountability, maybe people would have voted differently. Said Pete Grant, an SNP MP. This is why voting to leave the EU was a really bad idea, responded by Dr. Breyer. I hope you see that now. This is just sad that your realisation has come too late. Who held them to account before Brexit? Asked June Turnbull. Nigel Farage only attended one meeting of the Fisheries Committee out of 42, which we've been on before. Lowell Hoytman posted, the reality has to be one of the most pathetic, unintentional realisations I have ever seen. Former Brexit Party MEP Lauren France also joined in criticising his former colleague. Brexit Party's MEPs need to make their minds up, he said. 1 minute Boris Johnson deal is the second worst in history and Beano, only the next they want to celebrate Brexit with a party on the 31st. Mummery is not the only politician to have a deep epiphany about this moment. Nadine Dorries made a similar comment about the transition period. The MP did not respond to any of the thousands of tweets she received, but a Brexit Party spokesman clarified that the politician's issue was with the transition period itself and not Brexit itself. This is one of the reasons why the Brexit Party is opposed to a long transition period and support a, quote, clean break, which is basically just basically no deal, and we just go, whee, out into the world. It's literally, you sell your house, but you haven't bought a new house yet. Where do you go? Where do you live? What do you do with all your stuff? This is why you need a transition period. It's a very simple analogy, but it works. It sums it up perfectly. The Brexit Party wishes to take back full control of our fishing waters and allow the EU to govern their own waters without interference, they added. Those people misrepresent that tweet and are either ignorant of the withdrawal agreement or are willfully misunderstanding her words for their own anti-Brexit and anti-democratic ends. Ooh. But no, how can you misrepresent what she said? And they even did a video of her saying the exact same thing, crying about how she cares about Britain's fish. I don't know if she knows this, but fish don't have passports. There is no border under the sea. Fish will go wherever the hell they want. There's no such thing as, quote, British fish, as she called them. It's completely unbelievable, but it makes perfect sense because literally only, it must have been a day or 2 days later after this debacle, an MP stands up in the House of Commons, a Brexit-backing Conservative MP basically gets up and says that freedom of movement must be protected. One of the things Brexiteers banged on about constantly, again, a reason why we had to leave the EU, was to end freedom of movement. But here we have a Brexiteer MP, of all people, stand up and say freedom of movement must be defended because it is good for the economy, it's good for business. I can't believe it. I literally can't believe it. But hey, sooner or later the penny's going to drop with these people. Reality, you can't get rid of it. This is what I've been saying on this channel since day one, and other people out there have been as well. Reality exists, and what Brexiteers are often angry about isn't Brexit. It isn't the EU. It isn't the government itself. They're angry just at the reality of the situation, and they're trying to foist the blame onto anyone else and anyone they can. It's like what happened in the House of Lords. Boris Johnson's bill got rejected. Because, why did they reject it? They were very clear about why they rejected it. They went, you said in the withdrawal bill there would be these things in it. When you have sent the bill to us, there are not these things that you specifically said would be in it. One was child refugees, one was workers' rights, and another of a couple things that they stripped from the bill intentionally because we highly suspect they don't want another legal challenge. And the Lords have said, don't bother sending it back until you've put those things in. You made promises to us about what would be in that Brexit bill. Now, here's the thing. If you've ever watched the House of Lords, it is boring. It is super boring. But, some people might say the exact same thing about watching the MP Westminster debate. But I challenge you, watch the House of Lords. The House of Commons is far more lively than the House of Lords. But, as I've said over this many times, I don't like the House of Lords. I want it to be changed. I want it to be turned into like a proportional representative system. I think that would be much better and more democratic. But the House of Lords, since the Brexit vote, has been the only place where Brexit has been properly discussed. And I urge you, go and watch those debates. They're all over YouTube. You can find them very easily. Just put House of Lords debate, Brexit. You'll see them for yourself. They're very long. Some are very boring. But those are the type of conversations that were not had post the referendum or anything else, because the Lords were literally just talking about, well, okay, they voted for Brexit, but now what? You know, the Lords have unanimously said, we will not back a no-deal Brexit. We will not do it, because it will bring in ultimate economic ruination for this country. They won't commit an act of economic suicide. And they've said, you know, they would vote for a soft Brexit, but they won't vote for a hard one, which is what Boris Johnson presented in his bill. But once again, the Brexiteers are absolutely crying about, because they don't want a transition period. They want to just, as they say, get rid of everything. And that quote, clean break, to them basically means they can just get rid of all the European laws, which is what they want to get rid of, which is what really Brexit was all about. A lot of the very rich and powerful people who backed Brexit didn't like the rules for the European Union, primarily because of how strong and how powerful the European Union was in able to resist their lobbying attempts and having influence on the European Union itself. It's far more easier to influence, for example, the Conservative Party to get rid of those pesky regulations. But there you go. Again, this is what it's all about, completing Thatcher's revolution. Boris Johnson is just Margaret Thatcher 2.0. Just give him a handbag, somebody, please.